Welcome back, everybody. Russian troops are bearing down on Ukraine's Donbass region, aiming to seize the country's industrial heartland. But fierce Ukrainian counterattacks have slowed their efforts. Meanwhile, back here at home, Joe Biden's yes-men brass are working to weaken America's military in the equivalent of the Democrats' defund the police movement. Joining me now is 2020 National Security Advisor for President Donald J. Trump, retired U.S. Army Lieutenant Colonel and President of the London Center for Policy Research, Tony Shaffer. Also with us, Newsmax columnist and former Pennsylvania congressional candidate and executive director of Iranian Americans for Liberty, Brian Lieb. Gentlemen, welcome to you both. Colonel, we'll start with you.
Thank you.
Putin is cranking up his war effort again, concentrating on the Donbass region. Ukraine is putting up, as we said, a pretty fierce fight. But if the Donbass falls, what's the outlook for our ally, Ukraine?
I think it's bleak. And Chris, I think we can see Russia continue to wear them down. The best analogy to this is the Soviet invasion of Finland back in '39. Initially, the Finns kicked the behinds of the Soviets, but they eventually succumbed to the mass. I think we're going to see the same thing here. Plus, today, the Russian foreign minister has said that there's a technical state of war between NATO and Russia. The Russians are now flexing their nuclear muscle. Caveat, the sources I rely on say that there's no indications at any Russian nuclear depot that they're rolling them out, other than they've done a few tests to make sure that the command and control works. With that said, it's a very bellicose message from the Russians, and it's very clear that they're going to continue because, at this point, there's no countervailing force to come in and stop them. So it is not looking good for the long-term survivability of Ukraine as a nation.
Yeah, and no American leadership either. Speaking of which, right. Brian, while war distracts the world, Team Biden is busy trying to restore the Obama-Ayatollah nuke deal. Now, this deal will make it legal for the terrorist state of Iran to attain nuclear weapons. How crucial is it that Americans don't lose sight of these negotiations that Biden has, ironically, turned over to the Russians and is desperately trying to keep quiet here at home?
Well, Chris, you're right. Certainly the Russians are in the driver's seat when it comes to these negotiations. Listen, there are no negotiations here. At the end of the day, it's the Iranian regime telling Rob Malley and Secretary Anthony Blinken what they want from us, and it's us doing everything we can to say, yes, sir, we'll do the deal. And at the end of the day, they keep asking for more carrots. We're giving them the carrots. And at the end of the day, there's not going to be a deal. I don't think there's going to be a deal. I don't think the Iranian regime wants a deal with us. And as I've said on this program before, I think we've lost all leverage. Last summer, when the Chinese did a deal investing $400 billion into the Islamic Republic, we lost any leverage that we had whatsoever in these negotiations. So it is high time for President Appeasement, also known as Joe Biden, to pivot back to that maximum pressure campaign that President Donald Trump did so well. That's the only thing that's going to send a strong message to the ruling class in Tehran. So he's got to pivot back to maximum pressure.
Colonel, back here at home, it's well documented that Biden's brass is taking America's military woke, even though Pfizer's CEO is on tape admitting that his vaccine doesn't stop transmission or infection. Folks in the military are still being purged if they don't take the jab. What do you think is really going on here?
So there's multiple elements of the Biden administration undermining DOD. The most obvious is the vaccine issue. The second issue is this internal search for white supremacists. Chris, when I joined in 1981, the only color in the military was green. And we had an organization that focused on the merits of capacity of an individual rather than their skin color. And by their doing this witch hunt, they're tearing apart the military. Further, on the technical side, Biden said the other day that he's going to make everything green. I've got a degree in environmental studies. I can say categorically, without any hesitation, there's no climate emergency. There's no man-made climate change that's causing us to do this. This, in my judgment, Chris, is simply a method to under the military technical capacity to. So socially, they're doing it tactically. They're weakening the military so that our capacity to defeat a peer like Russia or China will be greatly diminished, if not impossible. This is a very grave situation.
It is. I completely concur. What's being done here at home, there's no excuse for it. And the brass, so to speak, there used to be this environment. It was a band of brothers, our military, and now the brass has them looking at each other and their skin color. It's an utter disgrace. Shame on White Rage Milley for doing this. Brian, last thing. Former President Trump says he will not return to Twitter, even with Elon Musk at the helm promising free speech on that platform. But there's someone that you want Musk to remove from Twitter. Who is it?
It is high time for Ali Khamenei to be removed from Twitter. And let me be very clear for the Newsmax audience. I am in full support of freedom of speech. What I am not in support of is terrorists who are sanctioned by the United States government being able to utilize U.S.-based technology and software to spread their misinformation, their hatred for the West, and to incite violence. So, Elon Musk, if you're listening, take Ali Khamenei off of Twitter. He is sanctioned by the United States government. He does not belong on Twitter. And put Donald Trump back on.
Man. Yeah, well, I mean, Barack Hussein Obama is going to be so disappointed. He spoke so highly, called Iran's terrorist leader the supreme leader of Iran. He's going to be very disappointed to see him go if Musk takes your recommendation, Brian. Retired Lieutenant Colonel Tony Shaffer and Brian Lee. Gentlemen, thank you very much. Coming up, vaxxed to the